Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Sports Link, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and while hoop earrings may have gone out of style since Sports Link debuted back in the 1970s, hoop highlights have not, and we've got a bunch of them. We've got Trey Sigler from Greyhound men's basketball to walk us through a highlight reel. We've got KK Connor and Zam Cox from Greyhound women's basketball to do the same for their game. We've got Ryan and Landry with a high school spotlight. I'll finish up with a basketball-related overtime. But as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. In non-basketball related news, Greyhound Track and Field had an indoor meet over at Texas Tech, and Ivor Monat had the best finish for the Greyhound guys, finished third in the 800. Mercy Rodish finished first in the 5,000-meter run. For Greyhound baseball, kind of a tough weekend as they dropped 4 games to the University of Texas Tyler, but a really great weekend for Greyhound softball as the Greyhound softball team beat Simon Fraser by 1 and then beat regionally ranked Colorado Mesa by 2. They're now 4-1 on the season. Well, that is our Eastern recap, so we'll clear this out and we'll bring on our first guest, Trey Sigler, right now. Welcome back to Sports Link, and we welcome back to the set the head coach of Greyhound men's basketball, Trey Sigler. And Coach, last week you got the 1 upset win. A little bit of luck. You could have had 2 upset wins.
Man, and I don't like using that word, and you know me, I want to always earn what we get, but I feel like that's almost what we needed, man. You know, ball bounce this way or that, and obviously that result is different. Very proud of the win against Dallas Baptist, and we talked going in even on the radio last week, Doc, just about how big those wins could be. Some of these people that we find ourselves in the ties with right now and where we're sitting in the league race, you know, wins against those higher seeded teams will be the tiebreakers, I think, that it'll come down to. And so those are just big bargaining chips. So I'm proud about that Dallas Baptist win, and it was a big game for our guys. I think we got up 21 at one point, 20 or 21 points. And so it was also nice for us to kind of collectively flex a little bit and show our scoring power, our defensive ability, and kind of let our team breathe a little bit. You know, that's, I think, been something all year that we've been a little bit hamstring, tightened on. And so I'm glad that we were able to get out and run a little bit. And then obviously the Tarleton game, all those have always been epic. You know what I mean? I don't think I've ever had a Tarleton game here at Eastern that hasn't had some kind of flair to it. And the flair did not fall our way this year. We wish it would have. But, you know, when we had that timeout, set up our play, and then Dane Kawani obviously kind of went full court, lost the ball out of bounds. It just crushed him. You know, we had a good play set up. We felt like it was a play that would have won the game. And so he was just, he was pretty down, and felt like he'd let us down. And obviously, it doesn't always come down to that moment. We try to take that off his shoulders as much as possible. But I was proud. He's had a great week of practice so far this week, and he's responded with a lot of toughness and resolve. And so I'm proud of him, man.
Going back to the Dallas Baptist game, that was a team that came into the conference. At that point, they were the 4th best team in the conference. They were leading the Lone Star Conference by a long margin in terms of 3-point shooting, and you guys took that game away from them.
I appreciate that, Doc. And that was, you're right. And Coach Shaw had that scout, did an incredible job of, and obviously putting us in a position to win, knowing what they're going to do. But more than that, I think Coach Shaw set the mindset for the game. He broke some of those stats down, even individually between their players of like, listen, like this is how many attempts he's had. This is, and when you start looking at the percentages, it really does, man, almost Moneyball of sort, you know what I mean, and through the statistics of the game. And so, Coach Shaw had us in a position to really be confident going in. And then obviously it was on our guys' shoulders to get in the game and actually make the plays and keep those guys from scoring. And you know me, Doc, I love scoring. I love offense. I love the play calls and the flair. We have some guys that can dunk. I like the over-the-rim play. But when it comes down to it, man, you can only win games consistently if you can get stops. And I was very proud of the stops that we got as we got up to our big lead. And so even some of their players in the game, they're good kids at Dallas Baptist. Even in the game, some of them, as we kind of on and off the floor, kind of gave me a high five, like, man, like y'all came to play. And so, and I hate to be like this, Doc, but in the gamesmanship of the Lone Star, I think teams are seeing our record. And I know that the coaching staffs are saying, listen, these guys can play and they can beat you. But man, when you're a 19-year-old kid and you've won 13, 14, 15 games, it's kind of hard to look at our record and say we're going to take these guys seriously. So, obviously, that's a weird kind of bargaining chip that we have right now, but we're using it and we're trying to flex it as much as we can.
I think the best proof is that on Saturday we had a crew out filming your game against Charlton State. We've got a highlight reel, so let's actually show the people what the Greyhounds are
Let's go,
capable
man.
of doing.
Yeah. There were some good highlights, man. As always, thank you to this crew that does this stuff, man. They put them together awesome. Looks like ESPN. I always love this stuff. But I think you can see some of the speed as these angles change at which our guys are playing. We play fast. And a big thing for us all year long, especially, in this game, was just sharing the basketball. So, obviously Jose Serrano, like you mentioned, that's on, Clayshawn Gaffney, one of the biggest forwards in the league. So for him to be doing that stuff is great. Here we have Ibn Zaid. That's kind of his trademark out in Los Angeles where he grew up. Like, he was known for his pull-up jump shot. And so seeing him have some success at that has been great. Matthew Mazik, we all asked him if he called glass on this one, but he said it counted either way, so we didn't ask any more questions. Some good defense here, man. Great block shot by, Zay that leads to a fast break with Devin and G. Always fun to see that when guys play fast for each other. Garrett Sherrod clearly could have shot the basketball, but, being unselfish. People don't know how good an athlete Jose is. He carries a little bit more body weight. He's built a little bit more thick in the chest, but he's a good leaper, man. Some crazy skill right there, man. I thought that should have been a foul, but, we don't get the and one. Obviously, Matthew Mazik has come through, in a lot of moments for us as just kind of being our cleanup guy. He makes those gritty, tough plays that, that you have to have made.
Great head and shoulders fake by Jose.
Old school, right? I mean, you just got to love his game. He's got an old soul to him, and he just finds a way to impact the game. Great fast break there with Devin and Isaiah. Those guys still, Devin and Isaiah, are still finding themselves, this year, and their scoring confidence and consistency. But when we have them together as a double-headed attack, it's just really hard to guard. It's awesome, man.
Great
awesome.
inside, outside.
Yes. And again, Jose Serrano, such an unselfish player. There's times I have to get on to him for not passing, or for not shooting it. He wants to pass it almost too much. But Darius Sawyer came alive in this game, and he made 2 threes, spent a ton of time working on his shot this summer, and again, I think in a real unselfish way, he doesn't want to miss shots for us, and so he doesn't shoot it a ton, but I'm glad to see him have some success. And you see Jose, man, having fun. He looks like he has fun,
Great move by Brandon Meadows.
Yes. Crazy skilled kid, man. Again, sharing the basketball, being unselfish. We love that stuff, man. That's what gets us excited as a staff, is just seeing these guys share the ball with each other and use our collective force. We're playing 10 guys, 11 when I can get Nico in the game. And so I really want that to be the hallmark of our team, is that anybody can hurt you.
Devin Palm just amazingly quick.
Yes, sir.
What
he
a
is.
finger roll.
He is, yeah. To be able to climb up with those big guys and finish is awesome, Obviously, man, Zay's doing a great job attacking this rim as of late, and we just got to keep him doing that, man. It's really hard to keep him off the rim. He's so athletic, and we just want to continually see that. But yeah, awesome highlights. I'm just, again, so grateful to the team that does that. And again, you see stuff like that, and it makes you believe in our force as a team. And played, tough every one of these top opponents in the league so far, the West Texases, the Angelos, the Tarletons. And so we feel like, Doc, if we can get in this tournament in an advantageous seed, we feel like we can really make some noise, man, and get to Dallas. And again, like I said before we came on air, somebody's going to have to play us that doesn't want to play us. And so we're hoping that we can make that, come to fruition and finish how we want to finish.
The season boils down to one regular season road trip and one regular season homestand, Thursday, Saturday, and I presume that Saturday the 29th will be senior day?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and again, an emotional moment. You have Darius Sawyer, you have Isaiah Murphy, who are graduating, Dane Kawani as well. Mengistu Jonkor, who is actually mid-season, he got asked by the Sudanese national team, the nation that he hails from, to come be a member of that national team, and that'd be the equivalent of somebody asking one of our guys to come play on Team USA. And so not only do we say, yes, that's okay, but we supported him completely. He's got most of his classes online so that he can be in school still while doing that. But obviously he had to step away from the college scene to go do that. So proud of, Geese in that way, but he'll be walking as well. And so it'll be emotional, man. Those guys have spent a lot of their heart and blood, sweat, and tears for us. This season, record-wise, hasn't gone the way we wanted it to, but when I think of what these guys have gone through this season, a ton of courage, a ton of resolve. They've represented our program in the right ways. They're good guys on the floor and off the floor, and so you can't really ask more than that. I wish we got some more wins, to this senior season, but we're not done yet, and we're hoping that we can get 4 more to tack on, And again, if we can do that, I think everybody will be sitting in a place of positivity where we want to be.
Well, Coach, I hope that in a couple of weeks I'm seeing you in Frisco, Texas.
You know it, Doc. You know it, man. Let's make it happen. Thank you as always.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up the first interview segment. So what we'll do is we'll clear the set and we'll cue up a high school spotlight right now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to High School Spotlight. I'm Landry Widener.
And I'm Ryan Schrader.
Last Friday night we stayed right here in Portales to catch the Rams as they took on the Goddard Rockets.
It was a close game all the way through, but towards the end, one team pulled away. Let's see what happened.
On our first play from Portales, Kellen Hightower fires a pass down the court to Enrique Diaz. Diaz immediately dishes off to Josiah Tejas, cutting through, and he puts in the shot for the Rams.
Hightower loses it here, and it comes up in the hands of Brandon Montanez. He heads quickly down the other way and bullets a pass underneath to Taylor Ramage for an easy layup.
Antonio Ramos here getting it to Hightower on the left side. He'll drive in and pull up from the elbow, but at the last second dish it off to Tejas underneath for the good contested layup.
Goddard on the other end, that's Gabriel Campos getting it on the left side. He dumps it into Noah Reese, who will put up the jumper with a hand in his face and sink it.
Here's Hightower again for Portales, edging his way through defense and into the paint. He pulls off a great pass around two defenders to get it to Tejas for another good layup.
Lots of quick passing here from the Rockets. They get it in the corner to Ramage. He has two men on him, so he kicks it back over to Campos, who spots up the deep ball from well beyond the three-point line and sinks it for Goddard.
Hightower here again, weaving his way through the Rockets defense and spotting up a good shot over his defender and sinking it.
Portales again, this time it's Kenevin Bailey. He can't find anyone open, so he'll take it to the basket himself, putting up a good shot over two defenders and hitting it.
Goddard now on the other end, and it's in the hands of Reese. He gets it to the other side to Montanez, then he gets it into the corner to Ramage, and then back over to Reese, who quickly releases the three and hits it for the Rockets. That'll make the score 16-12 at the end of the first.
Portales quickly taking it the other way. Diaz gets it to Hightower, and Hightower takes it the rest of the way to sink a quick layup for the Rams.
Rockets on the other end, that's Damian Otagon getting it out to Reese wide open at the three-point line. He'll spot up the shot and hit it again for the Rockets.
Here's Ramos again for the Rams, bringing it around and driving it in. He draws in two defenders, leaving Hagan Rains with enough space at the three-point line to pull up and sink the deep ball for the Rams.
Ramos inbounding here, finding Bailey in the corner. Bailey's got a defender on him, but he'll pull up anyway and sink it for another Portales three.
Hightower again leading the Ram offense finds Diaz on the left wing. Diaz gets it back over to Ramos, who spots up another three from the top and hits it. The Rams coming in hot with a barrage of threes before halftime.
Goddard on the other end trying to make up some ground. Montanez finds Torres open in the corner with enough room to pull up and answer with a three of his own for the Rockets. This makes the score 35-29 heading into halftime.
Here's Portales to start the third, getting it to Bailey, who drives in and draws in the defense, leaving Ramos open. Ramos elects to drive it in himself, but quickly gets swallowed up. But he gets it back to Bailey underneath for another layup.
A lot of passing here from the Rams, and they get it to Ramos, who drives in the lane and gets it to fall over his defender.
Montanez here for Goddard, scanning his options. He finds their best deep threat Campos open on the right side for yet another deep three for the Rockets.
Hightower will cross over, drive inside, and as the defense collapses, he kicks it out to Tejas, who drains the three in the corner.
Montanez again bringing it down for Goddard. This time he gets it over the top to Reese, who quickly turns around and spots up the jumper and hits it for the Rockets. Everyone getting a piece of the action here for Goddard.
Hightower finds the nice fast break option here as he passes ahead to Ramos, and he'll take it all the way and draw the foul.
Hightower again for Portales, taking on his defender. He drives into the elbow and gets a nice spin to create some space and spot up the great shot for the Rams.
Some nice defense from the Rockets as they get the steal, and they find the pass ahead to Montanez, who displays a nice Euro step around the defender and puts it up for two. It's now a 10-point ball game going into the fourth.
Goddard on the other end gets it to Ramage at the foul line. He looks over and he sees Reese wide open to hit another Rocket three to start the fourth quarter.
It's another race here, and Ramos crosses the timeline but gets a little tripped up, and Montanez comes away with the steal and the layup.
Here's Goddard again finding Campos open, but this time the Rams are ready for that deep threat. He gets it to Reese on the baseline for the jumper and the make. Reese really working to bring his team back late.
Hightower with some impressive ball handling here, and watch as he hesitates to throw off his defender and a nice distance jumper. But it doesn't fall. No worries though, as Bailey gets the rebound and tips it in.
Rams offense here trying to pull away. Hightower finds Tellez, who takes it in and misses. Bailey comes up with the rebound and puts it back in and draws the foul. Right here, he'll complete the old-fashioned three-point play for the Rams.
Hightower sets up the offense now, but decides to take it himself and lays it up as it goes up and in. It will stay at a 10-point lead as the final score is 69-59 with the Rams on top.
Now let's look at some rankings. Starting off with 1A girls, Logan remains number 1, followed by Melrose and Fort Sumner.
Moving on to 2A, Penasco is in the 1 spot, followed by Mescalero Apache, Newcomb, Pecos, and Lordsburg.
In 3A, Navajo Prep stays number 1, followed by Tohatchee, Tularosa, Santa Fe Indian, and Socorro.
In 4A, Los Lunas is sitting in the 1, followed by Kirtland Central, Bernalillo, Gallup, and Pojoaque Valley.
In 5A, the Hobbs Lady Eagles remain number 1 with that undefeated record, followed by Piedra Vista, Centennial, La Cueva, and Volcano Vista.
Now switching over to the boys' side, in Class A, Melrose is sitting in the 1 spot, followed by Maxwell, Springer, Tatum, and Elida.
In 2A, Pecos remains number 1, followed by Magdalena, Santa Rosa, and Texaco.
In 3A, Robertson is sitting in the 1 spot, followed by Bosque in the 2, Sandia Prep in the 3, St. Michael's in the 4, and Hot Springs in the 5.
And in 4A, Valley remains number 1, followed by Hope Christian, Highland, Del Norte, and Gallup.
And last but not least, in 5A, Cleveland is sitting in the 1, followed by Las Cruces in the 2, and then Volcano Vista, Santa Fe, and Capital.
Thanks for watching High School Spotlight.
Before we throw it back to Doc, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates, photos, and highlights.
Once again, I'm Ryan Schrader,
And I'm Landry Widener.
and we'll see you next week.
Welcome back to Sports Look. Thanks to Ryan and Landry for that look at Portales and Goddard. And speaking of Portales, we've got the pride of Portales, New Mexico, Zam Cox. We've got her assistant graduate coach, Michaela Connor. And ladies, welcome to Sports Look.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, Michaela, I presume that anybody with any familiarity with Greyhound women's basketball probably knows who you are, but a little bit of background about how you eventually got to be the graduate assistant coach.
Oh, well, if you didn't know, obviously I've played here for 3 years at Eastern, and we had a lot of success. I was really, really close with Coach Prock. Coming into, last year's season, I didn't know that we were going to have a GA position open because we actually had a GA at the time when I was playing, but the position came open, and when he asked me did I want to do it, it almost just made perfect sense because we were so close. We had such a good relationship, and he just thought that I could be successful as a coach, and so that was kind of how I came to be a GA.
And Zam, we've already let the cat out of the bag that you are from Portales, New
Yes.
Mexico, but what was the process that got you from playing for the Lady Rams to playing for the Lady Greyhounds?
I started playing for Portales, and then I got onto a summer team, and my coach knew Coach Prock, and I'm sure Coach Prock had seen my sisters play before me, and then maybe known my dad and stuff, so he watched me at a tournament, and then after that kind of started our recruiting process, and I came on my visit, and I committed, so.
Very good.
Yep.
Well, Michaela, now you're in your second year as the graduate assistant coach. Are there days when you still wake up and you think, okay, got to get ready for practice, and then it's like, no, I'm on the other side of the court now?
Yes, definitely. I miss playing all the time just because I was so passionate about the game, and I love playing, and I love playing for Coach Prock. But it's definitely a different kind of atmosphere when you move to the coaching side. You want to help the girls, you want them to learn, you want to motivate them, but you can't do it for them. And so that's the biggest learning point that I've kind of gained, being a GA from being a player. But it's definitely been a fun journey, and I've learned so much from Coach Prock and Coach Jennings and just from the girls. They teach me how to get better every day.
Zam, last year we assumed that Deja Johnson was going to be the point guard and you were probably going to get spot minutes, but unfortunately Deja got injured. You got thrust in the starting lineup, and you go from being a senior in high school to being a freshman starting point guard in Division II. What was the adjustment process like?
It was definitely surprising. I came in not having not any expectations, but not a lot of playing expectations, and then I was really looking forward to learning from her also, because having a senior point guard to kind of groom you and teach you and be able to watch her was really exciting for me. But having that experience it was a lot of learning to go through with Coach Prock, and it's still going on, just little conversations all the time throughout practice and throughout the games has helped me a lot. He's been awesome with me, teaching me.
Well, of course, last year, KK, was a great year for Greyhound women's basketball. You get invited to the NCAA tournament for a second time in 3 years. Losing a couple of really good players from last year's squad, did you have any idea that this year's squad would be as good as last year's squad?
I wouldn't say we knew for sure, but Coach Prock has just always done such a great job recruiting that it never surprises me when we end up getting a 6'3" Natalie DeLong, or a Jasmine Williams who can get 10 rebounds a game. And so obviously we lost Trayana Clay, and she was a huge part of our offense, huge part of our defense. But I definitely trust Coach Prock and Coach Jennings to get the proper recruits in here. And so it didn't surprise me too much just because I've been here for so long and I know how they can recruit.
Zam, you've had a lot of wins so far this year. Has there been one in particular that you think was the most satisfying team win?
Well, definitely LCU was a big one. At the beginning of the year, we went through as a team and thought about what we wanted our goals to be, and that was one of them, to be LCU. So it was really awesome after that game to look back and, we accomplished one of our team goals. So that was huge.
Well, you ladies had a chance to sweep last week, and you came within 2 points of doing it. You lost to Tarleton by 2, but we've got a lot of great highlights from that game. So we're going to cue up the highlight reel, and please, ladies, walk us through it. They must have known you were coming, Sam.
Yeah.
Liz taking it strong to the basket.
Yeah, she's showing more on offense this year than the first 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she brings a lot defensive and offensively. We have her at the top of our zone, and she, just like that.
Yeah.
Every little thing.
As if on cue.
Really intimidating. Natalie, just as playing with her from last year, she redshirt, and so this year, from the beginning until now, it's awesome to see her confidence grow. She's just, before she probably wouldn't have taken shots like that, but now she's doing it more and more, and it's fun to play with her, even more fun now.
More good defense, and the aforementioned Natalie Stice.
Yeah. That's probably one of my favorite things playing with her is she runs the floor really well, so I can look up and give it to her on fast breaks, and she finishes really well.
Speaking of finishing well.
Live again.
By our trees we have there.
Yeah, until you had 3 post players foul out against Tarleton, they could hardly get a shot off against you.
Yeah, defense is definitely our bread and butter to our game, as you can see there.
Added along with that mid-range shot.
Liv has grown a lot, like you said, and she'll just take the ball down the court with confidence, and that's awesome. She'll do that at least a couple times a game.
When Natalie uses up her eligibility in basketball, she can run track for us. Great post move. I think she was excited. Very good fundamentals, Zam.
Thank you.
Well, like we said, that was a game that you had a 12-point lead late in the ball game, and just give Tarleton credit. They made an incredible number of plays down the stretch.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they've always been a great team. I've lost to them a few times when I was playing, beat them, and they they're just a solid team, and you have to give them their credit where it's due. They came in and they didn't give up at the end, and I think it helped to kind of teach our girls that we have to finish throughout the game. You know, nobody's just going to fall down and roll over just because we're ENMU women's basketball. And so I think it gives us great opportunity to go into the postseason and go into, you know, our next 4 games with a little bit of experience in a close game at the end.
Yeah, clearly you ladies are going to go to the postseason. The only question is where you're going to be seated. So let's hope it's one of those top 4.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies, thanks so much for being my guest. Good luck the rest of the way, and I know that I will see you over in Frisco, Texas.
Thank you.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up the interview segment of Sports Look. So what we'll do is we'll clear this out, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. Last week, I did an overtime about a dominant big guy in the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal. Today, I'm going to do an overtime about the first dominant big guy in the NBA, Wilt Chamberlain. How dominant was he? In 1959, in his first game in the NBA, he scored 43 points. That's a record that has stood all these years. As a matter of fact, he terrorized the NBA the first few games of his rookie year, to the point where the coach of the Cincinnati Royals, and yes, they were a team back in those days, was thinking that his team was psyched out even before they played Chamberlain. So before their game against Philadelphia, he sat his guys down and he said, "Wilt Chamberlain's just another basketball. He puts on his basketball shorts the same way you guys do, one leg at a time." At which point, one of his players looked at him and said, "Yeah, but coach, once he gets him on, he pulls him up a foot higher than any of the rest of us." Well, that is going to wrap up an overtime, and that will wrap up an episode of Sports Look. I'd like to thank all of my guests, Trey Sigler from Greyhound Men's Basketball, Michaela Connor and Zam Cox from Greyhound Women's Basketball. I'd like to thank Landy and Ryan for a high school spotlight. Speaking of Landry, she was one of my floor directors tonight, so for all those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.
It keeps me awake, the look on your face, the moment you heard the news. You're screaming inside and frozen.
Now let's look at some rankings. Starting off with 1A girls, Logan remains number 1, followed by Men's offense here trying to pull away. Hightower finds Tejas for hoop.
You were outnumbered this time. But only the eye.
In 5A, the Hobbs Lady Eagles remain number 1 with that undefeated record, followed by Pedro Vista, Centennial, La Cueva, and Volcano Vista. Here's Goddard again, finding Campos open. But this time the Rams are ready for that deep threat. He gets it to Reese on the baseline for the jumper and makes it.
So every day now you brace for the sound you've only heard on TV. You go to class scared, wondering where the best hiding spot